God damn it, it's the fourth try and okay, I'll try it. So it's about dosing out an SSRI or SSNRI. For me, I'm dosing out venlafaxine. I think you call it Effexor in US or Effexor. Basically, it's a very common SSNRI. And meanwhile, I also dosing a new medication in. But I just want to talk about getting rid of this SSNRI. So first thing you should do in order to do it properly and to mitigate side effects or withdrawal symptoms is do it in steps. And this should be common sense to most of you, but do it in small steps. That's very important. I go from 225 to 150 to 75 to 37.5. Smaller steps would be even better, but I doubt that pharma companies actually offer those steps in between. So yeah, just talk with your psychiatrist, with your physician, and I think you will find a proper solution. If you're a person that is sensitive and to weather, and where you would say like bad weather correlates with my depression, then you should consider pushing your dosing out project towards a time where you know the weather's being good. Like at the beginning of spring, you're dosing out then, and then at least you don't have two effects that might influence your depression in a bad way. So consider that. For me, I think I'm not that much influenced by it, just basically because I don't understand why it would be the case. Like vitamin D3 doesn't make sense to me, and other things also don't make sense to me, but it seems to be the case for some people, and in these cases, they should really consider that while dosing out. If you do it in winter, it's maybe just additional stress for you, additional possibility that the whole thing turns south, and yeah. So, and then there's a third thing I did personally, and there I want to say, like, take everything what I say with a grain of salt, do your own research. I'm not a physician, I'm not a health dude. I'm not educated on that at all. And it's just anecdotal. It's not empirical stuff I'm showing you here. It's just anecdotal knowledge. What I did at least is in the evening, like when I went down to 75, from 225 to 75, in the evening on an empty stomach, I took L-tryptophan. And L-tryptophan, again, very roughly speaking, is an amino acid that is kind of like a precursor of serotonin. So it is an intermediate of the metabolic pathway to serotonin, kind of. And excuse my English, I'm not native English speaker, so I have always in my language this specific terminology, and I don't know whether it can translate into English. But basically, it's just like a precursor of serotonin. So what it in theory does, if you take that, especially on an empty stomach, you might increase the amount, or you might increase the production of serotonin. What an SSRI does, also roughly speaking, in theory, is what it actually says. Like it's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it inhibits the enzyme that takes the serotonin back, which is a natural process, but the SSRI goes there, binds on that enzyme, it inhibits that enzyme, and basically it ends up having more serotonin where it should be. But the L-tryptophan is just giving more substrate to produce serotonin. So I felt it mitigates, in my personal experience, it mitigated, it lessened the withdrawal symptoms. I feel like I couldn't say that for sure. I don't know whether there's like a causal connection, but I felt better with it because I already dosed down an SSRI without that. So this was very helpful, I think, and you might take that in consideration. But again, I'm not an expert on that, and everything. I'm not trying to suggest you doing something. I'm just telling my personal experience, and that might be something for you. Maybe talk with your psychiatrist without it. Even though, like where I'm from, psychiatrists are very conservative, and they won't read an extra scientific paper in order to optimize your treatment. and that's fine. So that's an option to do that. But also there's one thing to really take care of, and that's why probably most psychiatrists would say like, oh no, don't do that, because you shouldn't take L-tryptophan while being on SSRIs or SNRIs. Because basically you introduce to your body another way of increasing the amount of serotonin. So once you have the inhibition of an enzyme that breaks down serotonin, on the other side through the L-tryptophan, you increase the amount of serotonin by providing your body more molecules that can be metabolized into serotonin. So you could risk in serotonin syndrome, and serotonin syndrome can lead to death, so that maybe is not a cool thing to do. So just take this in consideration, but that's my personal experience. I forgot to talk about what actually are withdrawal symptoms for people that are maybe curious about like what is going to happen to them if they start getting rid of these SSRIs. Well, for me, it is basically more sweating. If you're sweating on SSRIs, if this is a side effect for you, I would expect even more sweating when you're getting rid of the medication. It's like basically like this withdrawal symptom. You just basically getting rid of a drug, and yeah, like it's just not a pleasant thing. Sweating, there are these brain zaps. I read that on Reddit. Some people describe something as brain zaps, and I could identify with that pretty well. So I think I also had these brain zaps when I got rid of SSRIs. And it's basically like you're temporarily dizzy, but it's not like I lost balance or I fainted. I was at the gym with these brain zaps, and I had them while handling heavy weights, and I never really had the feeling that it's dangerous. Maybe it is, maybe I'm just stupid, but yeah, it's just an unpleasant, vibrating, dizzy feeling in your brain. This is how I can describe it. It's not painful though, it's just unpleasant and weird. What else? Well, all these things, just dizziness and mood swings and appetite increases, goes down, those things. Some people experience like heavy nausea, or they're sick, or they have to vomit, all that kind of shit. But for most people I know, it wasn't as bad as it is portrayed by many people. So don't worry that much. Don't go cold turkey. Do small steps. Consider your climate. Consider your season. If you react to weather badly, then think about doing it in spring or in summer. Maybe consider you doing other stuff like L-tryptophan, and just make sure that your life is in order while you do that. But that's a no-brainer, I guess. So that's it. It's 8 minutes again, and I made so many mistakes. I really excuse my English, excuse my confusion here, but if you listen until now, I'm very happy. I didn't expect that. Hello and bye.